Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We'll just wait another moment or two while everyone gathers. Thank you. Great. I don't want to keep anyone else waiting, so I think we can begin. The attendees have kind of stopped trickling in. So welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here on behalf of Oasis and GreenShield today. So we are looking forward to kind of spending a good amount of time going through certain information with you all. Before I begin, just to introduce myself, my name is Dima Shekem, and I'm here with my team today who currently do support Oasis and yourselves with your benefits administration, but will be taking on a bit of a different role starting April 1st. So looking forward to kind of continuing that partnership together. A few kind of housekeeping items before we begin. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. I've just kind of started sharing the deck there. You'll notice your cameras are muted as well as your microphones. That's just simply because we are recording this session so that others in your organization, should you need to share this at a later date, you obviously will have the ability to do so. But we definitely do want to hear your questions. So if you don't mind, everyone should see at the top there on the left hand side, primarily a Q&A box. So if you have any questions going through, as I take you through the session, forgive me, please go ahead and put your questions in that Q&A. What we'll do is we'll pause a little bit throughout the session, see if there are any questions that are specific to the demonstration. We can answer them there. But of course, we'll keep some time at the end to help answer. So no question is a bad question. I'm sure if you're thinking it, others here on the call are also thinking it. So please feel free to add your questions as mentioned. And of course, I think I did mention the session is recorded, and the recording link will be shared after the session. So this is, we've done a series of these sessions. So if you've had attended any of these prior, the content will very much be the same. If you have any colleagues within your organization, other administrators who have attended, that content is also the same. Some agenda items for today. So we will go through kind of before we begin with the actual demo of the tool, we'll go through kind of a list of things that we want to achieve and we want to cover, actions that you can or you will be, of course, taking in our system. Of course, we'll do a demonstration of the tool, reminders around when this new service model is going live, which is April 1st, just in a couple of weeks here. Some reminders just around general administration rules and guidelines, and of course, any questions, and we'll discuss some next steps. So kind of before we begin with kind of the key items, of course, the main kind of change is that today you would reach out to your Oasis administrator for any types of inquiries that you have. And I know they've been doing a wonderful job supporting you through all of your kind of day-to-day benefit administration inquiries. In the future, as of April 1st, you'll have several options, whether it be our call center. So I know some of you, of course, are familiar with our call center. You may have called for yourself or your employees as it pertains to, let's say, a claims question. So in the future, that same call center, as of April 1st, will be responsible for supporting you as well with any administration type questions. So as we go through kind of the demonstration today, just think that, in the future, if you're on the site and you have any kind of navigational questions or anything at all, they will certainly be able to support. And then in addition to that, myself and my team are also available through kind of our ticketing system, which we will let you know when you're going to be getting all of those great contacts. So again, just high level, really that's primarily the main change for yourself. So a couple of key items that we will take away today, we will go through. Really, I want to ensure that, we are doing a demonstration of our system. Again, most of you may have used this, but we'll be looking at things like, how do you add an employee to your benefits plan? How do you remove them, from a termination perspective? If you want to move employees, of course, they may change class, eligibility rules may vary for them. You'd want to kind of change, let's say, transfer them from one class to the other. We will certainly go over that. Of course, the main function of our system as well is from a lookup perspective. So, you always have our tool, the administration tool available to look up, coverages for your various employees, whether, it's a new hire that just joined the organization or a colleague that has been there for a while. And of course, our billing statements, our premium statements have been shared on our system since, we have been managing this with Oasis. So every month, those that are responsible, it could be yourself, others in your team, receive a notification every month around, let's say, the 20th of the month for the following month statement. So I will just quickly show you where to find that. I'm sure most of you are very well aware. And then last but not least, I will be just kind of highlighting where in our system we have an administration guide. So think of it, anything we go through today, we're updating that guide for you so that it's a little bit more robust. I will kind of just show you where to find that in the system as well. I'm just going to quickly click on this Q&A box just to make sure I haven't missed anything. Hopefully you can see. No one's telling me they can't see the slide, so that's great news. All right, I will go ahead and pull up the tool now. Perfect. I may have to just quickly stop sharing this, which I will. All right. Perfect. So this, I will say, this is an exact replica of the production environment, meaning the environment everyone has access to with your live employees, your live members. From a kind of look and feel and navigation, it's exactly the same. From a function perspective, it's the same. It's just that this is our test environment, where we do, testing and multiple demonstrations. So if you're seeing that, you may have access to most of these screens, but maybe there's a couple of things on here that's extra. That could just be that it's the environment that it's in. Of course, any and all test data, any demographic employee information that we're looking at is purely test information for this demonstration. So I'm in the system. You would have kind of when you joined your organization or when you were given access, or if you're the one granting access to your team, you would have asked Oasis at one point, or you would have been asked, someone would have asked on your behalf to grant you access to this tool. So I will reiterate, this is obviously only authorized users of our system should be using that system. So if anyone's on the call here or even in the future where you think you need access to the system, I would say, if it's before April 1st, kindly check with your Oasis administrator for either updating your access. If let's say you don't have the access to edit, that is an access restriction that may have been placed at the time when you were given access, or let's say you don't have access to certain things and you feel that this is something that is required by your role. Of course, I would check internally within your organization first, then contact Oasis if it's in the next couple of weeks. But let's say you want to provide access in the future for a new administrator, etc. You'll be able to contact GreenShield directly, and we do have procedures in place, a form, etc., that you'll have to complete. But all this to say that if you don't have access, kindly take those measures so that you do. Logging in is very simple. It's an email and password. So the first time you basically log into the system, you'll be asked to, register, and then you're basically choosing your password, and you can go ahead and log in. So once you're on the kind of login screen, you've logged in, you've put in your password and your email, this is really the screen that you are kind of presented with. It is our home screen. You'll notice we do have kind of several ways to navigate the system. As an example, at the top here, you see, the client, obviously, always will be Oasis. This is the name of your organization. For today's demonstration, we have it as test location for obvious reasons, of course. And then you have the varying classes. If, your organization is one that has various classes and not just the one. You are able to kind of, I would say, filter if that's something that you like, where you only want to see, let's say, individuals from a full-time location, or you are just curious around, part-time colleagues in your company. You're able to filter at any given moment and basically select apply. That just means that anything we search will only pull up individuals in your company with this full-time class. If you select all, forgive me, you will then essentially have access and view individuals across the board. So I would say, unless you're looking for something very specific, my suggestion is to keep it simple, select your classes. And then here, just before we kind of get into the search function, you'll notice we're on the home page, which is this little house here at the top left. You have the members tab, which we'll get to in a second. We have the reports and organization. So we'll go through all of these in a moment. I'll just click on the members tab. That means you are in the members tab. A good way to know is it does say find members at the top. You'll notice kind of in the middle here, you can search. So whether it's by name, certificate ID, or even in a moment, I'll show you, you don't have to put anything. You can just hit search. And then on the right side of the screen, you will notice kind of the blue circle with the plus sign. That is the function which we'll look at in a moment, the part of our system where you can click on it. And as you see, it says there's a little bit of a description there. That's the add member section of our system. So you'll be able to essentially click on the plus sign and then add an employee. Forgive me, I'll just drink a bit of water here. So let's say you want to kind of search individuals in your organization, you don't have an ID or a certificate number handy. As I say, you can put in the name. If you don't have that, you can hit search. Basically, what that'll do is it'll provide you, it'll kind of display, which is what we want, on the one screen, every employee that is part of your organization at any given moment. So it's not historical, it's basically anyone at that moment. If these are active members, by the way, which is what you notice here, this under the status, it's either active or in this case, it's active with no benefit, but that displays all active members. If you would like to basically include terminated folks for whatever reason, you're doing some kind of review of some sort, some reconciliation on your end, absolutely, you may uncheck this box and then you will receive the list, or you will see rather on your screen the list of all employees, including terminated. Just a couple of questions we've received kind of in other sessions is, are we able to download from this page? Are we able to sort, let's say by date of birth or by name? No, this is really kind of a web-based tool, so there's not that ability. However, if ever there's, let's say, reporting that you require, let's say a list of all employees that are under your organization. Obviously, you have the billing statements, but we can also provide you a report in the future if that's something that's requested. So there isn't really an ability from this part of the tool to extract any reports. We will look at kind of what is available in just a moment, but for now, this is really just where you go to find information and make changes for employees. So I'm going to click the first person. So essentially, to open up the account, it's as simple as clicking on the individual name. Of course, I'm sure you can notice there's a lot of hyperlinks everywhere, which really take you to where you need to go. In this instance, we've kind of opened up the profile. We are in what we call the profile page for the employee. you notice here that we have, kind of the main section where you have their demographic information, their date of birth, when did they start working for your organization, etc. If you scroll down, you'll kind of have more information there as well. That information in the main section is exactly the same as navigating here on the left. So completely up to you, whatever you're more comfortable with. I tend to gravitate to the left panel just because it's maybe simpler than scrolling. So it's completely up to you if you prefer scrolling or just clicking on links. It's completely the same. It's the same information. It's just displayed in multiple sections in our system. So as an example, we have the profile page here. We have the earnings. So obviously what earnings is this individual, essentially what are their earnings rather, what's the effective date. We have a list of who their dependents are, if they have beneficiaries, if they have their benefits, excuse me, rather, if they have active benefits, which of course in this case they do. So as I was mentioning at the beginning, some of this you may just want to view information. It's not necessarily that you always need to transact. I would say probably the best bet to just come in, click on members, and then just navigate kind of here on the left side. I will also just mention the documents tab. So this is kind of an important tab within the employee profile. You can click on it and then you'll see here multiple confirmation statements. Obviously, this is a test account. We've transacted on this many times. An average employee may have a few. So what this kind of tab is it's basically anytime the system has ever generated a statement for someone, let's say they've added a dependent in the past, or they have, changed their coverage, they've updated a beneficiary, anything and everything that an employee would have transacted on or the system would have generated, you could find that document in the documents section of the tool. So another thing I'd like to just point out before we get into kind of making changes is we will mention in just a moment that the employees in your organization, I'm sure most of you know this, also have access to the system in a different way, of course, as employees only, so they can see their own data and their own benefits. So if you're ever investigating, let's say, an individual's account, you're looking at, let's say, their earnings. They have a question on the earnings. You can rest assured that whatever you're seeing in your administration portal as the administrator of your plan within your organization, your employee or employees are seeing the same thing on their system. So what if you, let's say, make a change? Well, in a moment you'll see I'll make some edits. If an employee were to log in immediately after, let's say for a minute, let's say, or 30 seconds, they will then see that change in their system, as long as, of course, it's not future dated. If it's current or past, they will see that as well. So it's very important that we have both systems and that you have the ability to, obviously, you'll be relying on this tool a lot, of course, with the support of our team to view, make edits, etc. So it's important to note that if an employee also logs in into their own portal, they will see the same information, but of course in a different way. And I'm sure some of you have those accounts for yourself as well. So I'll go back to the profile page. So we, excuse me, kind of talked about the view and where you can see things. Of course, most of you will be transacting in our system because, again, as of April 1st, some of these processes will be different. A lot of them may remain the same. However, from kind of a making changes, today you may be completing a form, sharing it with your OASIS administrator, and I know that that's been great thus far. However, from a go forward state, we are really big on, of course, the self-serve option. So you'd be able to log in, go into the system, make the change. Of course, if there's any questions along the way, it's our call center or our administration team here at GreenShield that'll support. So by all means, we will have that dedicated, our team will be supporting you throughout. So in this case, I would just like to show the edit function. So you'll see the three buttons. We have edit, transfer, and terminate. So we will click edit, and edit is there is exactly that. Again, not making it complicated, just so that you can make changes if there is a change that needs to be made. So let's say you added an individual, last week, you noticed actually you put in their wrong date of birth, or they're mentioning that they're not actually a smoker when you entered smoker for them. So we have this function for that reason, so that you're able to go in, of course, and make edits. You'll notice that there are certain fields that are restricted. So from an effective date, so this is key. Any change you make in the system, the effective date is very important. That is the date that drives the change. So let's say, as an example, this employee was hired March 9th, which was last Monday, and you noted, or they noted, when they went to submit a claim, as an example, that their date of birth is incorrect in the system. That's, of course, something that's critical because it flows to our claiming system. It can have an impact on claims, like all of you know. So, of course, you want to be kind of that support. So you'd go into our tool here, put the effective date of the hire, because essentially this is when this person was hired. And of course, if there's any questions in the future around what date should I use, can you help me? That's when you'll know to either reach out to the administration team or contact the call center. So in this moment, it's March 9th, the first and last name are there, not changing any other data. You'll notice the certificate numbers there, key piece of information. It's not one that we're able to edit in the system. That is, of course, because once generated, it's tied to many various kind of internal processes. It's tied to the claiming, etc. So certificate number is not really anything that you'd never need to edit. The date of birth is here. So I said, okay, instead of saying, instead of December 16th, 1986, actually it's the 1st. Okay, honest mistake. We go ahead and we change that. So you'll notice all you really do, anytime you're entering dates in our tool, you don't need to remember, is it month, day, year, or which one is it exactly? It's because every time you make an edit with a date, you actually have to click the calendar. So here we will say December 1st, employment start date, all of that remains the same. Of course, if you want to make a change, let's say their language of preference isn't English, excuse me, it's French, you can also do that. We will look at the addition of an employee in just a second. And then you see here, of course, the bottom right, it's the save button. So important to note, of course, that once you hit save, of course, there's the change. If ever you need a report, because of course, this is important from an audit perspective, there may be kind of various reviews that you do. We do have reporting that we can deliver on a monthly basis that basically will show the changes made by specific administrators within your organization if that's something that you need. So in this case, the date of birth was changed. So that's great. That means then it will flow through our process to our claiming system. And then in a few days, that employees will be able to make a claim with the correct date of birth. So edit is really there to make any changes on the employee's profile with certain restrictions, like we just said, for the certificate ID as an example. I'll hit on terminate first because, why not? So if you do have essentially an employee that is leaving the organization, you want to, of course, stop their benefits as of a specific date, you can certainly go ahead and do that. As an example, sometimes, these are resignations. So, kind of in advance that, this employee is leaving on a specific date. In this example, we will put March 20th. And there is a drop down for a termination reason. I would say, kindly select the one that is the most accurate to the scenario. So in this case, I will just put resigned. So again, we're terminating the individual. Their coverage, of course, with the organization. That is the date that the benefit termination will be effective, and we'll hit terminate. So you may wonder, well, today's the 16th. If this is effective the 20th, is it going to have an impact from a premium perspective, or are they still going to be able to claim in the next 4 days? Absolutely. Their coverage will not cease until that date comes to pass. So I will just click on terminate. And then you notice here that that employee has now been essentially removed. So if we go back to kind of that home page, and if I just click search, just give it a minute. with our test environment, sometimes this does happen. Let me just reload that. Try that again. Let me log out and log back in. Hopefully that'll help. This gives an opportunity actually for you to see the login screen. I don't think we saw that earlier. So there we go. It just tells you welcome to the portal. And then you have the email address and password, of course, that you will use. And that's strictly for yourself as an authorized contact. So let me go ahead and hit login. Okay, well, that worked. It just felt like timing out on us, not a problem. So as an example, you'll notice that there were 3 employees. One is now essentially terminated or removed. You can always check that to see the full list of individuals if that's what you'd like. I will click on another employee to open up the account. Excuse me. And then you'll see here we discussed, of course, the transfer function. So again, this is not applicable, it doesn't have to be applicable across the board. It's simply if, within your organization, you have more than one class. In this case, as an example, we have part-time, we have full-time. Again, the system will prompt you kind of for the important pieces of information for that transfer. So in this case, we have an effective date of transfer. I like to kind of remind everyone to try and really transact as I would say real time as possible, meaning if you have an employee transferring today, last week, next week, absolutely, I would say that's perfect. You can go ahead and make that change. You will notice, if we try to backdate, let's say more than a specific time, if you're trying to, let's say, terminate as an example, I should have mentioned this, when I terminated that member, it's key to always keep those terminations current, meaning the system will not allow you, or we may at GreenShield then reach out to you and say, we notice you've terminated someone, let's say 6 months ago, within the Oasis plan. The terminations do need to happen within the 30-day window, meaning really try and keep that current. And I know that I'm sure most everyone definitely does that, but just as a little reminder as we go through, since it's the first time maybe you're seeing the system, is that any terminations have to happen within 30 days. If you do have a scenario where you need some additional support, or there's kind of a varying degree of complexity, you need to ask certain questions around a colleague's termination, please don't hesitate to reach out. We will support those questions. In this case, I'm transferring a person, let's say effective today. You pick, of course, the specific, your organization. It'll be populated there for you. And this is, I am transferring this person, let's say to part-time. And I'm selecting the plan. Again, it's important to kind of take a little minute, make sure everything looks good, the date is correct. As I say, dates drive everything, drive all the behaviors in our system. And I will show you in just a moment when we add an employee, how even more important it is to make sure that you're adding these individuals timely, because there, again, certain limitations for obvious reasons that we'll get into in just a moment. So I would click transfer. And then if you notice here, right at the top, it'll be immediately done there. It essentially means that this employee now has transferred, or has been transferred rather, effective today's date. So let's say benefit eligibility is different in that particular plan or class or location, class that you transferred someone, that will then drive their benefit coverage. So very important, again, the date. I know I apologize if I'm re-emphasizing this, but just really trying to ensure that it's critical. The date's important. And of course, when you're making a transfer, if you have multiple classes, just to pick the class that you want. But again, just really trying to, you'll be able to kind of, if we recap here, you have the kind of edit function where you can make changes to any demographic detail that you want, or let's say even to a dependent. Let's say your employee has mentioned that similarly, their dependent name is not test 1, but it's test 5 as an example. You can go in to the dependent screen. Oh, see, I did it to myself. I didn't put the effective date. And then, which is good, you'll always kind of get an alert to tell you hey, the effective date is required. And it's really important. I know it does say that. Hopefully it's not too small on the screen there. Actually, it might be. Let me just see if I can make it bigger. It does say the effective